Hello guys, and welcome to a very impromptu video. Don't normally do this sort of thing, so this isn't, as the title may kind of show you, a Wargame Weekly, as you can see on the bar, but obviously I've not made a specific live stream bar for this. But yes, I just thought I've got a really busy week ahead of me, and I thought that I would just I've got a bit of time now though to do an impromptu video on the London GT. So I will talk about my progress and how I did. For those of you that are interested, I'll tell you the armies that I played against and how my army did. But also I know that there's an awful lot of interest in the event itself and how that went and what it was like and what it was like to experience. And I will give you my honest and really cut back opinion on it. I won't hold anything back. I will let you know exactly what I thought, so you guys know what it was like. And of course, everybody share their own opinions and have their own views on things. And the great thing is that's fine. There's nothing wrong with sharing your own opinions. As always, though, just beware of what your opinions say to other people, because ultimately the community is a small place, and I think the majority of people here want to work to make it a better place for everybody. So just be wary of what you say. Would be always my first kind of advice with anybody posting on the internet, and anybody with strong opinions. Those opinions are fine, and everyone should be free to express those opinions, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Just be aware of how those opinions will affect other people, and would you like those opinions said to you? So that's what I'm going to kind of start with. As always, thanks very much for watching. If you haven't already and you kind of just stumbled upon this, click on the sub button. It helps me tons, and give us a big thumbs up as well. And I'm not going to be responding to live questions and comments in the live chat, but by all means, put any questions in the comments, and then I'm more than happy to get back to you later. But if you're watching this and you're not watching it live, just don't want it to be too disjointed. So for that reason, I'm not going to be kind of going through the comments and talking to people. I do normally on my Wargame Weekly, so generally join us there on Thursday nights. There won't be one this week though. Okay, so let's start off. And I'm going to put my model down. I was going to plan and paint through this, but actually let's give you my full attention. Let's start off with kind of overall kind of what the event was, what it was like, and how it felt. So for those of you that don't know, so the London Grand Tournament is the second biggest Warhammer 40,000 tournament in the world. Not as big as the Las Vegas Open, but other than that, for a singles tournament, it is the second biggest in the world. It is also a huge convention, so it caters for narrative event, and for Age of Sigmar, as well as lots of other systems were covered as well. They also had painting seminars, and a couple of stalls as well, so you could get stuff directly from Games Workshop and from Forge World. So it was a bit more than just a tournament. It was a convention as such. It was held in the Olympic Stadium, which is the home of the West Ham football team. Those of you that follow the Premier League, in Stratford, which is in London, obviously. The venue itself is a very grand venue in the Olympic Village, which is very, very new, just outside a huge, great shopping centre, which is Westfield, where a great range of awesome shops and great places to kind of eat, and quite a buzzing area as well. Quite new and a nice place to be around. Lots of kind of hotels and stuff just on the real close to the venue as well. So nice and easy to get kind of accommodation. Some really huge hotels which are nice and easy to access the event. It's also got quite good access. Most of the train stations around the country go into London, and it's very easy to get to Stratford. So from an accessibility, it is relatively easy to get to, which is also really, really good. And because of the size of the venue itself, it can hold quite a lot of people as well. So that's kind of that's kind of the venue. Now it is London, so it is expensive. So there is no doubt about it. It isn't and it wasn't a cheap weekend. So even if you do it on the cheap, it's still relatively expensive. So it's going to be one of your more expensive kind of wargaming escapes, and it was. So it cost me quite a lot of money just to kind of stay in a hotel, even though I'm relatively close. But to stay in a hotel and to eat and drink, it's fairly expensive. Um, but the venue is actually it's a very nice venue because it's a extremely kind of national venue, and it's the Olympic Stadium. Security is pretty tight, and that it was a stumbling point. So when you get to the venue and the doors open, which is quite normal in a lot of kind of big UK arenas, stadiums, and rightly so. Security is quite tight getting in, and that did make it quite a nightmare getting into the venue. And this was not really down to the tournament organisers. This is just down to the venue itself because they have to be scrutineous, and obviously with so many tournament goers going in with bags, it's only right that everybody gets checked, and that did cause some teething problems getting into the events and getting things going because you need to get everybody through the doors, and really it's really difficult to kind of cut that down. There's about 45 minutes an hour before first game from registration. Now in hindsight, and I'm sure the guys would probably needed more time to get people all in and get them registered, because you're not going to know how long that takes. And this is kind of the first event of its kind to hold this kind of many people. So it's difficult to kind of get that right, and so the start time wasn't really kind of where it needed to be. But again, that's the kind of registration. We also went through, so the game systems were registering with a Best Coast pairing, which is a great application which allows the pairings to be automated, which saves a lot of time and is great for you to look at who you're playing, look at lists. It's an amazing system. It also allows them to upload straight to the ranking, to the ITC ranking. So because of that registration piece as well, it was going to take quite a long time. So yes, it didn't start on time. But look, that's not a problem. Most people that come to the event are there and they're investing the whole day. They know it's going to take the whole day, so that hour was not really a problem. The venue itself, once you kind of got in and you kind of got registered, it was on sort of 3 floors, and I think that in itself has some teething problems, but it's very difficult to find a venue of this kind of size in London, because obviously it is the London GT, that's going to cater for that amount of people, and do the job at a price that's affordable. Because ultimately, this is a private company that's been sort of engineered by the TOs over the last 3 years to give us a really cool UK conference event to rival the amazing events that are in the US that I've been to, and to do that, there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to do, there's a lot to organise, there's a lot to and there's a lot to invest. This is not cheap. This is a big undertaking that with itself is going to give quite a lot of risk, and I suppose I being a TO and being closely linked with that kind of community and seeing how that works, there is a huge risk there. Now, yes, to be granted, there is a reward to be made, but that risk, you're having to invest a lot of money, and there's not that many people out there that will take that risk. So you have to kind of give plaudits for these guys that have really kind of gone for it and gone for it big. So so the venue itself, 3 levels. The design of it not probably ideal for what we need. It'd be nicer if it was all on 1 floor. And I've kind of spoke to the guys, and everything that I've kind of said, I've kind of shared with the guys anyway. So this is not kind of surprise. I think if it was like a big kind of square like hall kind of centre type thing, that's going to be catering better for what we need, because we're moving around bags and up and down stairs is not always ideal. So that was a little bit problematic. So the venue itself had some kind of snagging points. The room itself was, was big, but because it's kind of on the multi levels, it became a bit of a task at times, particularly first thing when we had full capacity and everybody's trying to move around at the same time. It's quite a challenge. Also, with that amount of people to be able to communicate and tell people what to do over that amount of people and that amount of space, again, not easy. So that's something definitely, and I'm sure the guys have kind of taken note of and are going to go back and try and sort out for next time. So the 40k event, which is obviously the one I'm going to kind of focus on mostly, the 40k GT event. And excuse me, I'm kind of suffering from a cold from the weekend. Was a kind of, and if you can imagine a stadium, it's not going to be a surprise that the room kind of wraps around, because it's around like a shape of a stadium. So it kind of wraps around a nice long room, not hugely wide, but kind of very, very long. And obviously all the tables were in there. You had the Blood Bowl in there, and then you had the 40k the GT. And I think it was a bit squashed. It was particularly kind of day one. It was very, very tight, particularly the moving around from tables. It was a bit tight, so it was quite challenging to move around, and to kind of to get to your table, and that obviously didn't help with that initial kind of starting off of the event. But the tables themselves, they all had the battle mats, and they all had a very consistent terrain. Now, I'm going to touch on the terrain piece, and I'm not going to spend the next hour talking about it, because the terrain does divide people, and I'm going to tell you why. So the terrain, bearing in mind that this is a competitive event, this is the second biggest event in the tournament calendar throughout the whole world. What they have done is they have produced a set of terrain that is fair and consistent on every single table in that room. So you knew whatever table you were on, you were going to get a fair table with fair terrain, and you'll be able to play a really good, engaging game of 8th edition 40k. So there was enough line of sight blocking terrain on those tables to give different types of armies a fighting chance, and to give you balance. So when you deployed, you were not going to get a bad stitch up on there. You knew that terrain would be consistent enough for you to have a really solid game on it. So from a consistency point of view, the terrain was absolutely fine. Was really, really good. Now the reality is, whatever reasons, and that's the guys. That's not. I'm not going to go into details and rumours and hearsay, but the reality was they didn't get the terrain finished. They didn't get it done. Yeah. So from a thematic point of view and from a standard point of view, they weren't up to scratch. So the terrain, there was, I would say, probably 50-50. Maybe that's being unfair, but was kind of spray grey. The rest of it was kind of bare polystyrene. Probably more 75 sprayed, but there you go. And majority just either sprayed white or sprayed kind of grey. There might be more variations, but that's kind of what it felt like. And there wasn't really any more to it than that. Now, look, the reality is, if they are careful enough and they packed everything up and they managed to maintain that terrain, they can now use that as a framework to get that terrain properly stuck together, properly then sealed, and some more dry brushing on it, get all the stuff that wasn't finished done, get some flock on certain things, and then they can really take what they've got now and lift it to a place that actually looks really, really good and is very practical as well. Because the reality is that terrain was really, really practical for competitive gaming. And for that, I applaud them for it, because when I talk about my games, that will come apparent around how that terrain is very, very functional. But yeah, is it good enough? No, it's not. And when I walked into the event and I said hello to Zach, who I would consider a friend, who is the main TO, what Zach was very, very clear from the start is he was very unhappy. He was very unhappy that he hadn't got it done. He wasn't taking it lightly. He wasn't happy that he'd had a quarter of his room not painted. He was clearly disappointed. And I'll tell you what, the comments online will disappoint him even further, because there is nobody in that event that wanted it to be better than him. Now, did he make some mistakes? Yeah, he absolutely did. Did they achieve what they should have achieved? No, they didn't. But I tell you what, that wasn't through the fact that he didn't care. He just made a few mistakes and didn't get that terrain up to the standards of what it should be. And I think you need to take that, and as I say, opinion, everyone's entitled to have their opinion. But my clear opinion was, did I like the look of the boards? No, I didn't. Did they, when I taken pictures, was I pleased with how those pictures looked? No. But was I happy with how the game played? Yes. Could I see what was tried to be done? Yes. Could I see where they need to go? Yes. And that's where I see. So I think, it's very much, if you wanted to play a beautiful narrative game, and that's your kind of pull, there was a place to do it there. The Greetings from the Warp guys produced a beautiful terrain upstairs in their hall for the narrative event that was gorgeous, that was really thematic, and if you want to play that style 40k specifically, you had a place to do that there. There was no expense spared in getting that perfect. And the Greetings to the Warp guys delivered that, and hats off to them. Their event looked amazing. The 40k event is a different beast, and it's growing very, very quickly, and there's still obviously some huge teething problems there, and some things that just weren't great. But ultimately, you have to sort of see what they were trying to do, and bits of what they tried to do really did succeed in there. So that's the train. I'm going to move on from that, because everyone is going to have their opinion on it. But for me, yes, it's a swing and a miss, but ultimately, from a play point of view, it's spot on. It's absolutely spot on. And do I see what they were trying to achieve? Yes. And do I actually understand? We don't always get it right, and we're not a multi-million-pound organisation that can just deal with it. The mistakes were made. Yeah. They done better. Yeah, they could have done. But can I kind of see it? And do I like what a lot of the stuff they did? Yes, I do. So that's the kind of terrain. As far as and we talked about the hall, so I'm not going to kind of go on that anymore. The actual the food and drink was another big thing, which definitely there's some room for improvement there. So they had kind of like one bar open for food. The food was amazing, like beautiful food, like lovely burgers and hot dogs, really, really nice. And obviously you get all your drinks and stuff like that. But obviously it's just one of these venues open, and there's quite a lot of people to get through. So definitely that's something that to bear in mind. And with the quite tight turnaround time, that was a quite concern, because there wasn't really anywhere that was very easy accessible apart from that place. So if you wanted to eat, you had to eat from that one place. So that's the kind of event. That's the kind of the feel for it. So if you wanted to know kind of what it felt like, that was what it felt like. And as I said, my feedback was really, really clear. If you just take what you've got with the terrain and kind of improve it, then you've got a great place to start there. The venue, I would say that you want to look at a different venue, would be my opinion. I just think move to a different venue, and then you've got everything planned and ready to go. But you need kind of a square venue, probably with a bit more space. And definitely there's something around that food and being able to access easier an option to be able to easily get your kind of food sorted, and just around again the security piece is very, very difficult, because you are at the at the hands of your hosts, but ultimately there's probably something around just planning that time in with that. But yeah, so that's the kind of venue and the general kind of feel for it. My event, and I'll talk a little bit about my experience. So apologies first of all. So I'm terrible with names, as you guys probably know, and I cannot recall the names of the people I played. But I will talk about them, and I'll talk about their lists. So my list, very, very briefly, and I'm not going to go through it in massive, massive detail. I took my Tau. I took quite a gunline Tau. I took 3 heads. Excuse me. Long strike to kind of buff them up. I then took 50 fire warriors, split into Tau and Vulcan. I took some far side marksmen. Took some support characters for the fire warriors. I took my Wavara battlesuit with some shield drones, and I took a commander, a Cold Star commander with all the fusion guns. So my first game was against a lovely guy. He hadn't had loads of tournament experience, and he was playing a Custodes Astra Militarum mix. So he had a big Bane blade, and he had some little catechins, and the ability to obviously get some command points and farm that goodness. And then some shield captains and some foot slogging Custodes. It was a pretty solid list, quite resilient, and able to dish out quite a bit of pain. He also had a couple of Lehman Russes in there as well. And so he got first turn, which is bad against me because I really need first turn. And it was kind of a kill points with kind of tactical objectives as well. And he racked up a lot of points in the first 2 turns. I bit back and I caused quite a bit of damage back. We stayed quite level on objectives first turn, and second turn I kind of hit him quite hard. I dispatched all the Custodes. I put the Bane blade on 1 wound, killed the Lehman Russes, killed majority of the Kachans. Yeah, so we didn't have very much left. So we finished turn 2 and we were on level pegging. Unfortunately, that was the end of the game. So we didn't get any further than turn 2. And I'm not gonna. What I'm not gonna do is start blaming the guy. I'm just not going to do that. I think that potentially being a casual gamer means that you can't always play as quickly as a competitive player. And we were quite honest when we kind of chatted afterwards. And he said, "Look, the game goes on. You beat me." And yeah, I mean the game goes on turn 4, and I table him. But that it is what it is, and we got a draw. As I said, I'm not here to be kind of negative about other players and about how they kind of play. He definitely wasn't an intentional slow player, and it was a lovely guy to play, and it was a very, very fun game. So draw off the first game, and my second game was against a demons list with 1,000 Suns attachment. So you had Magnus, you had some enlightened Zangors on the discs. You had a big chunk of plague bearers with some support characters. So you had Magnus. You had, what else did you have? And he had some plague drones as well, and a demon prince. So he had a really good list, really nice, well-rounded list. Very good for being quite resilient, holding a lot of objectives, and that's what he did. So I tried to shoot at him really heavily, but he managed. Obviously, he gets a spell off to -1 to hit on the plague bearers, and they really kind of seize up the midfield, hold objectives, which allow then his Zangors and Magnus and his Prince to start kind of dishing out some damage. You get some smite support in there as well. So very good list, and particularly in another heavily kill pointed round, my army really struggled. So I hung in there, and it wasn't a bad loss, but he did nick it by a few points. Just managed to do enough damage to my small units to get enough kill points to take the victory, but pretty close. Another fun game, enjoyable experience, nice guy to play with. So that was my game 2. Really disappointed to come out of game 2 with a loss and a draw. It's probably, you know, worse than I'd expect to finish an event on. So to be out after game 2, really unhappy with that from a gaming point of view. I had 2 fun games with 2 good opponents. And unfortunately, things continued. So my game 3, which now I'm obviously going right down the tables now, was against a lovely chap with a Primaris, Raven Guard foot slogging army. So he's optimizing his Raven Guard chapter tactics, so everything has the -1, and yet so he had, you know, a couple of units of aggressors, lots of units of the intercessors, loads of hellblasters. It was a big guns never tire, modified mission with objectives as well, and wow, it was close. It was really close. And this is when I talk about the terrain for the first time in a really positive manner. So if we didn't have that balanced, consistent terrain, the guy probably doesn't get a turn 3 because I blow him off the table. And he played the terrain perfectly. Nice line of sight, big L-shaped buildings in the middle to kind of hide his guys, allow him to advance, allow him to play the game, and allow him to really use that to his advantage. And that's what he did. He played it really smartly and really effective against a very powerful list in mine. He got a lot of luck at times. He got some good cards, and he took some objectives. He played it really smart. A beautiful army as well. You can see a lot of the pictures over on my Instagram. Beautiful army. And in the last turn, all I needed to do was I needed to kill his warlord, who had 3 wounds left. He was the closest target. I had 2 hammerhead tanks to shoot at him, and with all that shooting, I could not kill him. He passed his 4-up saves, and that was the swing that allowed him to take the victory. So look, it was an epically close game, an incredible game, and you know, I absolutely salute the gentleman that I played, because that was a tough game for him. That was a very tough game for him, and he should not on paper have been able to win that, but he did, and he played it with skill, and you know, congratulations. And it just shows if you're a good enough player and you play your list enough, you practice it, you optimize with what you've got, and you have a good table of terrain, you absolutely can be victorious, and that's what he was. So you know, so congratulations to him. So end of day 1, appalling start, not even a single win, no whitewashed losses, and 2 close losses, and a draw that should have been a win, but ultimately scores on the doors were pretty grim, and I was struggling to think of a time that I performed worse. So feeling quite disappointed, a little bit disheartened. Went back to bed, licked my my wounds, and came back on the Sunday with something to prove, something to try and show that that I can come out with some kind of pride. So game 4 was against this is a battle army with Astra Militarum, again just for some command points and some weapons batteries there. I got first turn, and I absolutely annihilated him. I ripped him apart. Unfortunately, it's one of those things when you kind of miss out and do so badly game day 1, you end up then facing some quite underpowered lists, and I just shot him off the board, like literally annihilated him. He got very unlucky in a couple of rolls where he could have done a bit more damage. He really needed to kill the Wyvara quicker. He just couldn't. He had to resort to trying to charge it, and that he was just getting overwatched to death by his flamer. And that was pretty much the story of the show. So it was a whitewash. I didn't quite table him. He had a unit kind of hiding, but it was pretty brutal for him. And it's one of those things. Bad matchup for him, and obviously because I'd not performed as I should do on the day one, he was looking down the barrel of a gun of an army that would be expected to be a lot higher. So that was my game 4, and my last game was against a lovely guy, one of the gentlemen from Den of Imagination, which are a really cool painting studio, commission painting studio, and he was here. They were involved in the tournament. They were raffling off a beautiful painted army. So he was there playing. He was playing with a lovely, beautiful demon army, a mixture of Khorne and Tzeentch. Very aggressive, very in your face, and another kill point game. And it was close again. So he hit me incredibly hard, racked up the points, holding all the objectives, really pushed in my face and dispatched a huge chunk of my army really early on as well. But what I was able to do was counter, and when I countered, he was quite squishy, so I absolutely blew his army away. And in the end, turn 4, I tabled him. And in this format, a tabling doesn't mean you win. The tabling means you have the rest of the game to score as many objectives as you can. So in the end, I jumped on all the objectives. I scored as many maelstroms as I could, and ran out quite a clear victor on that. But you know, it could have been very different. But I was able to kind of really blow apart on those last couple of turns and then hold those objectives, take the victory. But a really fun game, lovely guy to play. We had a right laugh, and he's very generous. He gave me a bag of dice and stuff, and yeah, real gentleman. Met another guy from the studio as well, and really invested in the hobby. Really nice to meet them. And overall, these events, that's always the best thing. Chatting to so many cool people, so many of you guys that watch the channel, meeting with so many cool people. So and that was lovely, and I always love that, just kind of chatting to the people that comment and watch the videos, and when they stop and say that something that I've done has kind of helped them, or they've been watching for a period of time. You know, it's the best feeling in the world. So thank you guys. That is my highlight from the event, is always meeting you guys and chatting to you guys. So thank you very much, and I really do appreciate your time watching my videos. So thank you so much. So overriding feelings from the event, loved it. Really good fun. Awesome weekend away. Met loads of cool people. Saw people I've not seen for a while. 5 amazing games of 40k on tables that really allowed people to have a fighting chance against a rule shooting army. Gave everybody a chance. The missions were a little bit random for my liking, and a little bit a little bit cluttered, a little bit kind of bloated, but still a lot of fun. Really enjoyed the experience. And look, I would say if you went, then you know you'll be already making a decision whether you want to go next year. If you didn't go, why not give it a go next year? Give it a go and see what you think, because hopefully it'll be even better than this year. They would have learnt from the mistakes that they've made and the things that weren't quite perfect, and it'll be even better next year. And you know, and that's what we want, because until somebody else decides that they also want to run a big convention in the UK, these guys are the ones that are putting their neck on the line and trying to build a big event in this country. And if anyone else wants to do it and they think they can do it better, I wish them really good luck, and I will absolutely support you 100%, because the more big events, the more people that decide that they really want to kind of push the boat out and make something huge, then you know I absolutely want to support them. So let me know, and I'll come to your event, and I'll give you all the support, because I'd love that. The more big conventions we can get in this country, the better. But if there isn't anybody that wants to do that and put their neck on the line, then you know, hats off to the guys at the London GT, because they are prepared to do that, and they are giving it their all to make a convention in this country that will rival anything in the US. And as much as they're not there yet, let's hope they continue to try and to continue push the boat out to try and get to that next kind of level, and to kind of get to the conventions that really work in the US. So I don't know if there's anyone in the chat, because I've not kind of watched, but so if you're watching this live, thank you for kind of watching it live. I really appreciate you popping over. And if you're watching this back, please do stick any comments in. I will answer them. As I said, there is some quite big feeling around the event in the whole. But I would always say be kind to each other, and and don't say anything that you wouldn't like someone to say to you. Because I think as a community, this is one of the nicest communities to be part of. I feel really lucky to be part of it, and I think that it grows with positiveness. It doesn't grow with negativeness. So be kind to each other, and ultimately, it costs a lot of money, our game, and I don't ever dismiss that. But as toy soldiers, we're playing with not life or death. It maybe is our life savings, not life or death. So let's be positive, guys. Let's give constructive feedback, and let's be excited about our community growing and getting bigger and better going forward. So thanks very much for watching, guys. That's my honest, hand on heart opinion of everything, and until the next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.